Our next panel is some top tips for you. We're going to tell you how winning strategies for pay-TV operators might benefit you. Let me invite onto the stage Tom Jahr, who's EVP Product and Marketing at Conax, and he's with Paul Jackson. Gentlemen.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I hope it's a good afternoon anyway. Tom Jahr is Executive Vice President of Product and Marketing at Conax, which is a leading pay-TV security company. He's going to give us a very short, and I promise very short presentation. Then I will ask him some questions to lead him to his 5 tips. But I really would appreciate if you could enter some questions on here as well. Thank you.
So thank you, Paul. It's exciting to be here. Just want to give you a very quick update on what we do and maybe why you should listen to me. First of all, any pay TV operators in the audience? So a couple. Oh, so this is a tip for you. But I'll start off with Conax is part of the Kudelski Group, which is the #1 content protection and service protection pay TV provider in the world. Conax is a separate entity, and we focus a lot in this region. We have 140 million homes protected, and about 400 operators. And this is basically why I think I wanted to keep this low tech and give you some tips, because I've been a pay TV operator myself, running, doing the analog to digital conversion for a Norwegian cable operator, and we have 400 customers, and they ask us a lot of good questions, and hopefully some of this will be valuable to you. So just quickly, we're pretty strong here in the Asian region, have some huge operators, including the SL Group with Dish TV, the second or third largest DTH operator in the world. And that's actually the quick intro to who I am and where I come from.
Okay, thank you, Tom. I think it was worth pointing out that Get, the platform that you were director of product for, was one of the most, if not the most profitable platform, pay TV platform in Europe, right?
Very proud of that.
Yes, right. So another reason that it's worth listening to Tom. So why don't you lead us into your first point, Tom? Okay,
so tip number 1 is look at your competitors and figure out how to stand out. So you have 3 parameters you can play with. So it's, you can play with price, content, and the user experience. So starting at content, I think content is a good place to start. It's actually, rich content is the #1 reason for a subscriber choosing your service. So I saw some numbers in Australia. 40% of all users choose a service because of content. In Singapore, 32%. In the US, the number is about 40%. So choosing exclusive content or having the right content package is obviously a very good choice, but it's also a very expensive choice. And again, making sure that the content doesn't leak then becomes very, very important. Now, price is another important parameter you can play with, and obviously that's having the most aggressive price is obviously an easy choice, but it also hurts your margins quite significantly. And price is actually the biggest factor for canceling, the #1 biggest factor for canceling a service. So 33% in Australia, 32% in Singapore, and in the US, where the ARPUs are very high, it's as much as 40%. But I think probably the cheapest and one of the most important areas where you can differentiate is actually by having a great user experience. And a great user experience to me is not only about the user experience on the screen, which is obviously important. You need fast zapping time. You need great colors, easy to read fonts, all that. But it's also what's happening at the back. So great customer support, easy to upgrade your service, and also maybe a platform which has a consistent user interface across all devices. And I think this is something which is often overseen, so I hate if you scroll through your EPG and you let go and then you get a couple of, 2 or 3 more scrolls.
Agreed.
So this can easily be avoided, and I think a good place to focus on.
Okay. So is it fair to say that despite rumors to the contrary, you think that the set-top box is not going away anytime soon?
For sure. I mean, annually, there's about 250 million set-top boxes sold worldwide. A huge number. And the predictions from all, is it will continue to sell 250 million set-top boxes for the next 5 years at least. So for sure, no immediate death.
Right.
So I have a tip number 2.
Yeah.
Astra mentioned in the previous session here that you need to look 5 years ahead, and I think it's a good tip even in for a current pay TV operator today. So combining broadcast with OTT, a hybrid set-top box. So you have your linear service and with a number of linear channels, and then you can support that with a return path. And then you can get access to even more linear channels, but as a unicast, or network PVR services, catch-up services, or even supporting apps on your set-top box. So I think this is a really, really good choice and a good direction to go.
Okay, so it's a good direction to go. Maybe you can't start it initially, but what are the considerations regarding the set-top box that you have to take to achieve this?
Well, again, a hybrid set-top box, first of all...
Explain what that means.
Yeah, okay, good question. So the hybrid set-top box is basically, it's the hybridity between a broadcast, it supports broadcast as a linear multicast, meaning you have the same stream to every user. And then OTT, which is typically then a unicast, so you have one stream per user.
Yes.
And the set-top box itself, it needs to have either an Ethernet connection.
Right.
And if you're a DTH operator, this is an awesome way of looking into the future, because you can actually steal bandwidth right. from the telcos in the industry.
So I think the point is that you need to make an investment in the hardware up front to enable a service that might not be launched for some time to come. And I was also in this industry for quite a while. We used to say that you can download content, obviously, to a box. You can download advertising. You can even download new software. But the one thing you can't download is hardware. Now, some of us probably wish, depending on the result of this election this afternoon, that someone could get that tractor beam that Captain Scott in Star Trek used to use so much to work. But unfortunately, it's not working yet. So, so the point being, you have to invest in the hardware up front, because the lifetime of whatever hardware you pay for could be 5, 6, or whatever years. Okay.
So I think another thing to consider here is, pay TV. As an operator, you're either in a one-way network, if you're a satellite or a DTT operator, or in the two-way network. And there are different considerations there. Even if you're in a one-way network, you can have a lot of benefit from a hybrid set-top box. And by the way, set-top boxes used to be $250 investments. They're now $50 investments. So.
Or less.
So good. Okay. So my tip number 3. So multi-DRM, complex. So what is DRM? I'll start there. I guess most of you know DRM, but it's the mechanism that controls what you can do with the content once you get access to it. So first of all, do I get access to this content? Yes, no. So what can I do with it? Can I do offline consumption? Can I even fast forward? How many days am I allowed to watch this content? All that kind of stuff. So what happened is this just became a can of worms. historically everyone thought that we want DRM to rule all devices, and that was the only way to go. Then it turned out that all the devices decided, we want to be the device that rules OTT. So, Apple, they want to control DRM, so you have fair play. And then on Android devices, Google says, no, we want to rule DRM, so you need Widevine. And then on Microsoft devices, it's Play Ready. And then there's even more DRMs, and this is becoming infinitely complex. And we've seen a lot of our customers sort of do, no, we can fix this ourselves, and they have some IT guys, and they love to experiment with OTT, and it turns out this becomes an infinite maintenance problem, because every time you get an iOS update, and it happens quite often, then oops, it doesn't work anymore. You need to upgrade your player, or there's some, really game-changing things happening to the OS of the device, and you need to redo everything.
Right.
And it's ongoing every day.
So outsource the hard stuff to you, basically, or to a competent vendor.
Exactly. That's what I would have said. But and you know what? There's several things you can do here. So either you can get access to a set of tools that gives reference code, selection of what players they use on which devices, and then you can make your own user interface. Because user interfaces on these multi-screen devices, tablets and smartphones, is a bit easier than on a set-top box. It's HTML. You have millions and millions of skilled developers. But make it easy. Yes. The second direction is actually we can deliver or ready-to-play service. So we have a product, award-winning, by the way, very happy about that, called Go Live. And this is for operators just wanting to get off the fence and launch some kind of multi-screen service. So we can do live and catch-up TV on tablets and smartphones, and deliver that in weeks. Actually, we did a proof of concept with a customer with his content in 3 days.
Wow.
So from no multi-screen to live TV, tablet, smartphone with his content, with his branding in 3 days. Pretty proud of that.
It's pretty good, yeah. Okay. So we do have a question, but I'll park it for a while. Why don't you go on to your next point, and then I'll raise the question.
Okay, so another top tip I think is exceptionally important, keeping eyes on total cost of ownership. So what I mean by that is it's very, very easy to be tempted to shave off $1 on the set-top box or $1 on the smart card or just save some cost. Now that quickly becomes phenomenally expensive. And the reason for this is, a set-top box will probably stay 10 years in the field. And you want to make sure that set-top box, the set-top box manufacturer still lives in 10 years. And also the middleware provider and your CAS provider. Because what happens if you don't? We have, unfortunately, one of our customers that chose a middleware provider that went bankrupt before the final product launch, so they had to release their beta, so to speak. The customers had to unplug the set-top box 2 to 3 times a day just for the EPG to work, and they lost, they had 12% churn in 3 months, and have to replace, they haven't done it, 260,000 set-top boxes.
Wow.
So in a low ARPU region, so not a very good idea.
Okay. We've got a question, which is about new products and services that you might be planning on launching next. We could answer it now or at the end, up to you.
Okay, so the question was?
About new products or services that Conax may be coming up with.
Okay, so
what's new and different?
That's a very good question, actually. So historically, Conax have been focused on the traditional pay TV industry, so cable, satellite. We're strengthening our efforts into IPTV, which is now 5 to 7% of the market. We're also, we've acquired a watermarking technology company.
Oh, okay.
The number one in the industry. So this will be an important part of the offering. So Abigail from Cisco, hi, I can see you there. So you mentioned, it's multi-pronged effort. You need to, it's not only the content protection itself, you need to have other tools as well to fight the pirates, which is what I tell my family I do. Pirate fighting, yeah.
Okay.
So sure, that's part of it.
All right, why don't we go to your last point?
Okay, we only have not too much. So final tip, and this is my pitch, I guess, is security is a long-term game. Don't skimp on security. So what do we mean by that? What kind of, you can invest in a good set-top box manufacturer, and you can invest in a good smart card. But then you need a holistic approach to the security. Because what we do is we rigorously test the set-top box and see, can it be attacked from any angle? The USB ports, can the USB ports be attacked? Can the set-top box be attacked? And then you look at the back end, can the back end be attacked? And what happens if there's any easy point of attack? The set-top box.
Right, so that's the technical side, but what about operational security and that you provide those services too?
Of course, we also operate services for a lot of our customers. I just want to make one tiny point on what the pirate can do is they can upload software to your set-top box. They can shut down your service during Premier League football and then give you a call and say, do you want me to do it in the finals again? Or pay me $1 million. And it can be done to the operator, or it could be done to the individual on your PVR recording.
What about the overall cost of security solution from you as a proportion of the total investment?
That's a good question. So, protecting the content is about 2 to 3% of the of the value of the content protected. So it's again, don't skimp on the 1 to 2% to protect your total revenue.
Right. So to summarize the session, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much, Tom. Invest a little bit of time or a lot of time up front to consider wisely the security vendor, and also invest a little bit of extra resources to protect wisely your content and your platform, as well as your own behind. Thank you.
Thank you so much.